Hello everyone! Shadowlands Alpha is upon us, and I kinda made this video right before the testing was available, so a lot more information has come to the surface, right? A lot more data mining has been done by now, but I'm not going to use any of the actual alpha information. That way, we could keep the video somewhat spoiler-free and talk about some of the characters that I'm hoping to see pop up within the Shadowlands. There's quite a roster of fallen heroes and villains to pick from. Almost too many, really. That's one of the things that I'm most excited about for this expansion. There's just so much potential to work with. Of course, not all are going to give the time to have a full-blown story, but cameos will be nice nonetheless. So I sat down and I made a little list for myself as to who I want to see and why. Now, as a quick reminder, the Shadowlands, it's a realm with near infinite locations, different pockets and sections to be sent off to by the Arbiter, but the ones that we know of so far, they're called Bastion, Ardenwald, Maldraxxus, Revendreth, and the Maw. Those who have lived a life of service, they're drawn to the Bastion. Think Uther the Lifebringer, for example. Ardenwald is a vibrant afterlife for those closely connected to the wild. Think Cenarius. Might makes right in the war-torn Maldraxxus. Think spirits like Draka, for example. Wretched and prideful souls, they find themselves in Revendreth to atone for their sins. Spirits like Kael'thas Sunstrider, but it still beats going to the Maw, as being cast into the Maw is to be doomed to a bleak eternity, the place for irredeemable souls. Or, now as the Shadowlands, it's gone out of balance. Pretty much all the souls are being drawn to the Maw and the Jailer. So, as for the characters I'd like to see show up, starting off with number 5, as who doesn't love counting down? On number 5, I have Aedelas Blackmoore and Taretha Foxton. If you had to name one character to be the face of Warcraft, then I bet that Warchief Thrall, he would be very high on the list. The two who played a big part in making Thrall as he is today, that would be Blackmoore and Taretha. Blackmoore being the one who found young baby Thrall out in the wilds after his parents were murdered. Instead of just executing the orc baby, Blackmoore eventually came up with the brilliant idea of actually training Thrall. Teach him tactics, teach him how to fight, how to write, how to read, turn him into a leader, able to lead the rest of the captured orcs, a private army, to do whatever Blackmoore wishes it to do, which would be conquer the world in Blackmoore's name. But the man, he had quite a bit of darkness inside of him. He couldn't stay away from the bottle, something that he often unleashed upon poor Thrall. His time at the internment camp, it was not one of luxury or joy, but amongst the darkness, there were a few rays of light, prime one being Taretha. If it wasn't for her, then Thrall would have died as a baby. She eventually made contact with him. They built up a friendship. She showed him that not all the humans are monsters. Even aided him in escaping the camp to go out and form the Horde. For her kindness and loyalty, Blackmoore made her pay the ultimate price, execution in front of Thrall's eyes. And while Aedelas expected Thrall to buckle under the grief, instead he found strength. His rage and fury claimed vengeance for Taretha, while his shamanistic powers brought Durnhold low. He would then go on and form the Horde as we know it, as we see during Warcraft 3. Become quite the hero, while Blackmoore, he's never really shown up in the game, which I find a real shame, as in the books like Lord of the Clans or Twilight of the Aspects, Blackmoore is not the nicest guy around, but he has quite a strategic mind on his shoulders. He could make for quite the enemy. Taretha, on the other hand, she became a part of Thrall's heart, and she's shown to be resilient, unbreakable, an ally any would count themselves lucky to have. If just for the fact that I would love to see a model of Blackmoore walking around. For number 5, I'm hope to see that these two, that they show up somewhere.
Goodbye, Taretha. I will never forget your kindness.
At number 4, I've placed Kael'thas Sunstrider, together with Othmar Garithos. Kael'thas has already been announced as one of the deceased that we are going to run into. At Revendreth, the domain where the Arbiter sends the prideful, flawed souls who haven't been able to leave something behind, whether it's pride or some other source of downfall. Souls sent here, they're not quite ready for service in one of Shadowlands' other domains, and it's the duty of the vampiric Revendreth to prepare them through unimaginable torment. It is much like a purgatory for souls who need to atone for past misdeeds and shed the burdens of their life. The journey is not an easy one. The Covenant in this area, the Covenant of Venveer, they have a good thing going. They lord over Revendreth's castles and ceaseless twilight, while arrogant souls, they're delivered to their tables.
The harvesters' otherworldly punishments stripped the pride from their thralls, sparing them an even worse fate, which is that eternal torment in the maw. But souls thus drained, they can't just leave Revendreth for a better place. They have years of penance to slog through, while they reflect on the precarity of their afterlives. And after eons of service, the Venveer are increasingly ruled by their decadence and pride. The very purpose of their plane, it may be flawed, and those who were once accusers, they become gluttonous and corrupt. Revendreth must always have a master though, and rumors suggest that Denethrius, foremost amongst the Venveer, may no longer be fit for the role. Crowning a new sire could return the plane to its former glory, or leave Revendreth mired in the same decadence and sin it is charged with cleansing. Could it be that we're going to help Prince Kael'thas become sire here? Perhaps, as a lot of the Blood Elf fans, they do not like what they've done with the prince. Similar to Arthas, Kael'thas found themselves making incredibly hard choices for what he believed was the best for their people. Not helped by the fact that he was forced to work together with Garithos. The Alliance Grand Marshal was quite an arrogant prick, seeing other races as beneath him, placing the prince on tasks that pushed him to the absolute limits. Ultimately, he was forced to work together with the Naga, which gave Garithos all the reason he needed to imprison the ruler of Quel'Thalas within the Dalaran dungeons. He would have died there, was it not for the aid of Lady Vash. Through her, an allegiance with the demon hunter Illidan was born, with the promise of saving their people from their magical addiction. Time passed on, until Kil'jaeden was able to convince Kael'thas to join his side. Fel is a delicious, addictive magical substance, and we saw Kael'thas be a boss, not once, but twice.
But Tempest Keep was merely a setback.
Garithos, he found his demise in Warcraft 3, at the hands of Varimafras, in order of Sylvanas, after he foolishly believed that she would uphold her end of the bargain with reclaiming Lordaeron. The ghouls feasted on his bloated body, so how could these two be working together? Well, apparently Kael'thas, he's going to pursue vengeance on an enemy from his past, while confided to Revendreth for the crimes he committed in life. I don't think that it's a stretch to imagine that the arrogant Garithos also found his way to this section of the Shadowlands. I'd be really happy with the two of them being forced to hang out together, whistling something like
"Always look on the bright side of life."
But working together, it could be pretty awesome as well, considering their history. If Revendreth has done his job right, then Garithos, who's been here longer, it could have been a lot more toned down in his pride and arrogance towards the elf. They would still have their history, of course, but this time it will be Kael'thas that puts the human on impossible tasks to take down his enemy of the past.
And who might this enemy be? Arthas, perhaps? Who knows?
But seeing Garithos and Kael'thas together in WoW, I think it would be pretty damn awesome.
If you want something done right, leave it to a human.
At number 3, we have our boy Garrosh Hellscream. I think it's pretty fair to say that Garrosh, he was done pretty dirty. The son of Grommash Hellscream, he found himself living in the shadow of his father's mistakes until Thrall found him on Outland and told him the full story. Sure enough, Grommash did indeed mess up, but he could also be quite heroic. Hellscream then followed Thrall through the Dark Portal and he distinguished himself on Azeroth. Then the Cataclysm came around, and our Thrall, despite voices telling him not to do it, despite Garrosh himself saying that he wasn't the right orc for the job, Garrosh was made war chief and allowed to lead their people during times of great turmoil. A massive event, as Thrall and Garrosh, they did not view the world the same. Where the future Goel, he tried to carve out a peace in the world for the Hordes. He tried to do so through diplomacy and peace. Garrosh, he was proud of their people, and he figured they should just take whatever they needed. Quite a role reversal, one with awesome storytelling potential. Filling the shoes of a character like Thrall, it's quite a tall order, but over time, the Horde players, they warmed up to the more warmongering war chief.
For the Horde!
Echoed across Orgrimmar and beyond, but it was not meant to last. Where in one expansion, Garrosh condemned the acts of dishonorable tactics. The next, he used them himself and went even further. He didn't drink demon blood like his father had, but instead, he embraced the powers of the old gods. From war chief to full-blown raid and boss, placed on trial to answer for his crimes. A story which they tell in the novel War Crimes, where for a moment, it almost seemed like they were getting through to Garrosh, that there was potential for more story on the horizon. But nope, All they really did was use him to kick off the next expansion, and then go well, he sentenced him to the chair. Death on alternate Draenor. It's still a bit uncertain if the Shadowlands actually transcend realities. There's the bit about Soulbind and Niami with the Death Knight Order Hall campaign that we saw in Legion. In that campaign, they sent their followers into the Shadowlands to deal with Niami. But the argument can be made that this is actually our version of Niami and not the one from alternate Draenor. Personally, I'm of the mindset that the Shadowlands, it just covers all the different realities. It does leave the question if we're going to see duplicates, like Gul'dan for example. Our Gul'dan and alternate Gul'dan, they both died on our Azeroth. Is he now hanging out with himself, having massive conversations about power and betrayal? Curious to find out. But in the case of Garrosh, he's been deemed the worst version of himself by the Bronze Dragons. And I just really want to see the man in Shadowlands again, reflecting on past actions. Maybe make even a snarky comment about how he saw Vol'jin again, another war chief replaced, hanging out with his father, sharing tales of past glories, Gorehal and their family traditions of screaming hell. All I'm asking for is a little campfire where the different Hellscreams are hanging out. Doesn't even have to be a massive story.
You made me what I am!
And at number 2, not surprising I suppose, there is Arthas Menethil. I think many would agree that the story of Arthas, followed by then the story of the Lich King, it is one of the better stories to be found in the Warcraft universe. The pressure of the crown, battling against otherworldly forces and magic, manipulation and some hard choices to make. It all led to Arthas climbing to the top of Icecrown and putting on the Helm of Domination. From just the game, you get the idea that Prince Arthas, he was gone the moment that he picked up Frostmourne, the moment he became a Death Knight in the service of the Lich King. But the books, it adds a bit more depth to it. Emotions were still raging inside. He was conflicted about the choices made, but ultimately, he pushed forward to his destiny. At the end of the book, we read a scene in which he reflects on his life, and he decides to stab the Ner'zhul part and the last remaining bits of light, his younger self. From this, you'd say that the presence of Ner'zhul and the presence of his former self, that they're truly gone, that there's no more light to be found in Arthas. But then, we also hear the Lich King proclaim that he used to be a shaman, and we also quest with Matthias Laner. So the fate of Ner'zhul and the fate of Arthas' good side, it's a bit up in the air. We can see that Arthas had a bit of nostalgia left, clinging on to the old life, as a couple of items, mementos from his past, they can be picked up and given to the people that played such a massive part in his life.
He kept it. All this time, he kept it. I knew. I sensed a part of him still alive, trapped, struggling. Oh, Arthas. Perhaps he might someday remember what he once was. By the light, may he at last find rest, free from the icy grip of that terrible blade.
The point being that Arthas wasn't completely corrupted and gone. We're not sure what happened to his body either. It could have rapidly decomposed, like Hel'Fuzad did. It could be in Stormwind Cemetery, the box with the Lordaeron logo on it, or it could be somewhere else entirely. We don't really know. And then for his spirits, that is described in Sylvanas' short story. After the defeat of the Lich King, with her mission complete, she decides to throw herself from the top of Icecrown, and she ends up in Hell. Or, well, Warcraft's version of it. This is apparently the moment in which she made contact with the jailer. She set up her personal little covenant, and while in Hell, the spirit of Arthas is also there. His essence rushed to her, desperate, then shrank away in horrified recognition. The boy who would be Lich King, just a scared little blonde child, reaping the aftermath of a lifetime of mistakes. If any parts of Sylvanas' soul were not at that moment torn and tormented, she might have even felt, for the first time, the slightest glimmer of pity for him. In the grand landscape of all the world's suffering and all the evils of the infinite, the Lich King was insignificant. It would probably be the Maw where Arthas' spirit is trapped. And while Sylvanas, she got out of there with the aid of the Valkyr, he was not so lucky. That's kind of what I'm hoping to see. It doesn't have to be a massive story with Sylvanas. A couple of interviews suggest that she has outgrown him. Even this short story, it has him described as insignificant. He is kind of beneath her now. She's gone on her own journey. But I would love to know the mindset of Arthas after so many years of torment. There are so many characters that he could interact with or quest with, like Kael'thas, for example. Some, they might be able to forgive him. Some, they might think that he got exactly what he deserved. Arthas Menethil has also been on the rise and been given more story. Not necessarily a redemption for Arthas. I think that his story is pretty good as it is. I would just love to see what the afterlife has been like.
Only darkness before me.
And then finally, my number one pick. That would be Broxigar. Really, an easy choice for me the first time that I got this question, as I would love to see Broxigar tearing up the Shadowlands. This mighty orc earned his reputation during the War of the Ancients, where he went from being suicidal, trying to find death in honorable combats, to finding a worthy cause to die for. At the side of mighty heroes like Malfurion, Tyrande, Illidan, Jared, Ronin, freaking dragons. Broxigar he fought with in the War of the Ancients over 10,000 years ago to try and stop Sargeras from claiming the worlds, while others were desperately trying to close the portal which they created over the Well of Eternity. This mighty orc, he realized that they were going to need more time. Without hesitation, he leaped off the dragon right through the vortex to hell. Legions of demons, they tried to get past him. They tried to make their way through the portal, but Brox wouldn't let them. With the axe of Cenarius in hand, he kept chopping them down until none other than Sargeras showed up. You have to imagine that coming up against one of these titanic beings, the sheer might that radiated from the fallen titan. It was incredible, but all the same, Brox, he still managed to land a single blow, one strike, and then it was all over. A sacrifice worthy of song, as his actions, it bought the world of Azeroth enough time to seal the gateway, and it prevented the Legion from claiming it, at least this time around. The axe of Cenarius, it somehow made its way back, and was then passed on to his niece Fura. Well, Brox's story, that was shared with Warchief Thrall. Now when we traveled to Argus, we discovered that Blizzard, they haven't forgotten about Brox. There's the little museum that you can visit, where they keep his boots, his necklace and the shoulder pads, never forgetting the day that a mortal was able to land a blow on the Dark Titan. There was also the history of Illidan, as told by the Naru's era, in which Brox, he does make a small cameo, but that was just an image of the past, quite colored by the Naru itself, as Brox and Illidan, they never got along. Definitely a character that I would love to hang out with in the Shadowlands. If Varuk Saurfang, and perhaps even his son Dranosh, if they've been taken to the Maw, are in the hands of the jailer and Sylvanas, I couldn't imagine a better character at our side to join their rescue mission. They are his family after all, seeing how all three of them have laid down their lives heroically in service to others. Just imagine the story that they could tell.
You have earned your warrior's death.
Now looking over this list, I do realize that I'm looking a lot at the orc and human section, but that's not to say that more names haven't popped up. Names like Kindi, Runas, Marat, Tiffin, Ysera, Melagos, Medivh, Alexandros Mograine, just to name a few. As I said, the roster of fallen heroes and villains, it's quite massive. So by all means, let me know in the comments down below which spirits you would love to see make an appearance in the Shadowlands. Let us hope that the next expansion is going to bring what we all wanted to see. And as always, thank you very much for watching, everyone. Subscribe if you like my videos, leave a like if you enjoyed this one, and until next time, see ya!